The sun was just rising over the mountains when the sky split open. A loud roar filled the air as a bright light streaked across the morning sky. People looked up from their farms, gas stations, and coffee shops in the small town of Silver Creek, Montana. Some thought it was a plane. Others thought it was a shooting star. But Ethan Blake knew better. He stood outside his garage, wiping oil off his hands with a rag. He had seen things like this before, during his time in the Marines. This was no meteor. It was falling too slow, and it was too loud. Then came the explosion. The object crashed into the forest just beyond the town's edge. Trees were thrown like twigs. Smoke rose high into the air. Within minutes, the local sheriff, Lena Carter, was on the radio, calling for help. "This isn't natural," she said. "We need eyes on that crash site." Ethan grabbed his rifle and joined a small team heading out. Along the way, they picked up Kyle Morgan, the town's smartest kid, barely 22, who spent more time fixing old computers than talking to people. They reached the edge of the woods and saw the damage. The ground was scorched. Metal parts lay everywhere. But the real shock came when they found the thing itself. It was not made on Earth. It looked like a twisted ball of black metal and glowing lines. Wires stuck out like broken bones. And then, movement. Something inside the wreckage stirred. A hatch opened with a hiss, and a creature stepped out. Tall, thin, with dark skin and large eyes. It wore armor that shimmered like glass. It looked at them with something between pain and surprise. Before anyone could react, the alien raised a weapon and fired. A beam of blue light shot through the trees, missing Ethan by inches. He dove behind a rock and shouted, "Take cover!" Lena returned, fire with her rifle, bullets bouncing off the alien's armor. Kyle ducked behind a tree, wide-eyed. "What the hell is that?" Kyle yelled. "Not from around here," Ethan said. After a short fight, the alien fell. Its weapon clattered to the ground. The three humans stood over it, breathing hard. They didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Back in Washington, satellites had picked up the crash. Reports were sent up the chain. Within hours, the world would learn what happened in Montana. But one thing was already clear. Someone had attacked Earth, and they had just made a very big mistake. People across the world saw the news within hours. "Alien attack in Montana," read one headline. "UFO crash confirmed." Governments met behind closed doors. Scientists argued. Military leaders watched footage of the strange creature and its weapon. But the people of Silver Creek knew what had happened. They had fought back and survived. In Washington, D.C., President Harlan stood before a live audience. "We have been attacked," he said, "not by another nation but by an enemy from beyond our world. This will not go unanswered." Back in Montana, Ethan Blake cleaned his rifle and looked out over the forest. Lena Carter paced outside the sheriff's office, talking to state police. Kyle Morgan sat at a table with the alien's weapon, trying to figure out how it worked. They were no longer just a mechanic, a sheriff, and a tech geek. They were now part of something bigger. Within days, military planes flew overhead. Soldiers arrived in black trucks. The crash site was blocked off with fences and cameras. The U.S. government had taken control, but the message didn't stop there. From satellites in orbit to deep space radio stations, a new signal began to play. It repeated every hour, on every known frequency. "This is Earth. You attacked us without warning. We do not start wars, but we finish them." The message was translated into dozens of languages. Even the alien tongue was used, thanks to Kyle's quick work. On a large ship far from Earth, High Commander Zorak Tharn watched the broadcast. With a smirk, "Humans?" he said. "These are the ones who think they can fight us?" His officers laughed. "Send them a reply," Zorak said. "Let them know what real war looks like." Soon, more ships appeared near Mars. Weapons powered up. Earth's space defenses went on full alert. But instead of fear, something else spread across the planet. Anger. In towns and cities, people talked about joining the fight. Schools held drills. Factories offered to build weapons. Hackers tried to break into alien systems. Military bases opened their doors to anyone who wanted to serve. Operation Iron Resolve was formed, a new task force built around the idea that humans would not wait to be attacked again. Ethan, Lena, and Kyle were among the first recruits. They didn't ask for this, but now that it was here, they weren't going to run. They were ready, and soon the aliens would learn what happens when you attack the wrong species. Across America, then across the world, people began to change. Schools held war classes. Teachers talked about alien weapons. Students learned how to use tools not just for building but for fighting. Factories that once made cars now built armor and drones. Farms grew more food, readying for a long war. In small towns like Silver Creek, civilians formed local defense groups. They trained with old rifles, built watchtowers, and patrolled their borders. No one wanted aliens landing near their homes again. Ethan Blake found himself leading one of these groups. He didn't ask for it, but people looked to him. He had fought the first alien. He had survived. That made him a leader. Lena Carter worked with state police and military units. She helped train new recruits, taught them how to move quietly, how to stay calm under fire. She was sharp, fast, and never backed down. Kyle Morgan stayed in a secure lab, working with scientists and engineers. He took apart the alien weapon he had found piece by piece. Slowly, he figured out how it worked. The power source was unlike anything on Earth, small, clean, and incredibly strong. He sent his notes to Washington. Within days, teams of inventors and tech experts were working on human-made versions. The message from Earth had been clear. We don't back down. And now, they were proving it. In space, the U.S. Navy and international forces worked together like never before. New ships were built using alien parts recovered from the crash. Some were even powered by the same energy source Kyle had studied. On Mars, a hidden base came online. It could launch missiles into deep space and track enemy ships. On the Moon, soldiers guarded a powerful laser cannon, built to shoot down any invaders before they reached Earth. But not all the action was in space. In Africa, a group of young hackers shut down an alien spy drone. In Europe, a team of engineers built the first human-powered exosuit, a suit of armor that made soldiers stronger and faster. Back in Montana, Ethan stood in front of a group of volunteers. "We're not just defending our town," he said. "We're showing the galaxy what humans are made of." Lena walked up beside him. "They thought we were weak," she said. "They thought we'd fall apart, but look around, we're not scared, we're angry, and we're ready." As the sun set over the mountains, the people of Silver Creek loaded their weapons, checked their gear, and prepared for what was coming. Because the truth was clear now. This was only the beginning, and humanity was done waiting. The attack on Luna came without warning. Dozens of alien ships dropped out of hyperspace near the moon. They were fast, dark, and deadly. Radar systems across Earth picked them up in seconds. Within minutes, every defense station on the lunar surface went on full alert. This was not just a raid, it was an invasion. High Commander Zorak Tharn watched from his command ship as missiles streaked toward the moon. His fleet had crushed dozens of other species with less resistance. He expected Earth to fall like the rest. Luna will burn, he said, and Earth will watch. But what he didn't know was that humanity had spent years preparing for this exact moment. On the surface, soldiers moved fast. Armored vehicles rolled into position. Laser turrets powered up. Hidden bunkers opened, revealing weapons built from both human genius and captured alien tech. Lena Carter stood at the main command post inside the Newton base. She wore combat gear, her rifle slung over her back. Beside her, engineers and officers worked frantically, directing forces across the moon. "They think we're soft," she said into the radio. "Let's show them what we're really made of." From orbit, the USS Liberty Eyes, one of Earth's first warships, moved into position. Its hull was lined with railguns and plasma cannons. It wasn't built for peace. It was built for this. Ethan Blake led a team of elite fighters stationed near the eastern ridge. They were dug in, waiting. When the first wave of alien dropships arrived, they hit hard and fast. Energy beams tore through the rocks. Explosions lit up the moon's dark sky. But so did human fire. Missiles launched from hidden silos. Railgun rounds tore through enemy ships. Soldiers fought with everything. They had Kyle Morgan, now working on the Liberty Eyes, helped activate a new weapon. The pulse cannon. It fired a shockwave that disabled alien tech for seconds, just long enough to turn the tide of battle. As the fight raged, Ethan took cover behind a crater, reloading his rifle. "We can't let them take this place," he told his team. "If they win here, they win Earth." They pushed forward, fighting their way through enemy lines. Lena coordinated air support, or what passed for it on the moon. After hours of brutal combat, the tide turned. One by one, the alien ships fell. The Liberty destroyed the command vessel. Ground forces pushed the last enemies back to their landing zones. Finally, the last dropship tried to flee. It never made it. A final missile strike lit up the sky. Silence followed. The battle was over. And for the first time in their history, the Virex had lost a major fight. Lena looked out over the broken battlefield. "They wanted to scare us," she said. "Instead, they just made us stronger." And far away on Earth, the message was clear. Humanity was not backing down. After the Battle of Luna, Earth changed again. What had started as a surprise attack had become a declaration of war. And now, humanity was answering. Governments across the world stopped arguing and started working together. Factories ran day and night. New weapons were built. New ships were launched. Soldiers trained harder than ever before. It wasn't just about defense anymore. It was time to strike back. In Washington, President Harlan stood before the people. "We have shown we can protect our home," he said. "But if we wait for them to come to us again, we will always be on the edge of danger. It's time we bring the fight to them." Across the country, volunteers flooded military bases. Pilots, engineers, hackers, and fighters all wanted to join the new effort. Schools taught alien tech like it was history. Kids dreamed of flying into space and fighting for Earth. In Montana, Ethan Blake stood outside his old garage one last time. He had been offered a command position with the new human fleet. It was more than he had ever imagined, but he knew what was coming. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about making sure no one ever thought humans were weak again. Lena Carter had been promoted to field commander. She oversaw training camps and led special missions. Her teams went behind enemy lines, gathering intel and striking hard before disappearing. Kyle Morgan worked nonstop in a high-tech lab near Colorado Springs. He helped build something new, something that would change the way humans fought. Fusion-powered armor suits. Based on alien design but improved by human hands, these suits gave soldiers super strength, speed, and protection. They could survive in space and fire in anything. Project Firebrand was born. On the moon, new bases became launch points for deep space missions. The USS Liberty was joined by more ships. Soon, there was a full human fleet ready for battle. The message sent to the stars was short and clear. "You attacked Earth. You thought we would fall. You were wrong. Now we're coming." In the Virex capital, High Commander Zorak Tharn watched the reports with growing fear. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were preparing for war. And this time, they wouldn't stop at their own borders. They were going to take the fight to the enemy, because the truth was now known across the galaxy. Humans were not prey. They were warriors, and they were just getting started. The first human raid into Virex space was not a full invasion. It was a message. A small fleet of fast ships jumped into enemy territory near a mining colony, orbiting a dead planet. The mission was led by Ethan Blake, now a decorated commander with years of combat behind him. His team included Lena Carter and a squad of elite fighters. They dropped from orbit in silent pods, landing under the cover of darkness. Their target, a high-security research base. Inside, the Virex were running experiments, and not just on weapons, but on humans. Captured soldiers had been taken alive after the Battle of Luna. Some had survived. Most had not. Ethan knew what that meant. He and his team moved fast. Drones scouted ahead. Explosives opened locked doors. Every shot was aimed. Every move was precise. They found the prisoners locked in cold cells, barely alive. Among them was a young pilot named Morgan Cruz who had gone missing months earlier. But before they could leave, the alarm sounded. The base came alive with enemy forces. Alien soldiers poured into the halls. Plasma fire lit up the dark corridors. Lena covered the retreat, holding off waves of attackers while the prisoners were loaded onto shuttles. Just when it looked like they might be trapped, Kyle Morgan sent help from orbit. New prototype exosuits dropped in with reinforcements. The suits were faster, stronger, and tougher than anything the Virex had seen. The tide turned in minutes. As the last of the team pulled out, Ethan passed a control room and saw something strange on a screen. A female Virex officer stood alone, watching the battle unfold. She wasn't giving orders. She wasn't cheering. She looked upset. Before he could think more about it, the explosion charges went off. The base went dark. Back on Earth, the rescued soldiers told their stories. The Virex were not all united in this war. Some fought because they had no choice. Others questioned why they were fighting at all. The idea spread quickly. What if not all aliens were enemies? What if some wanted peace? Kyle studied the data from the base. He found messages, records of arguments between Virex leaders. Some believed humanity should be destroyed. Others warned that attacking humans was a mistake. And then there was the woman Ethan had seen. Her name was Vera Kell, and she had tried to stop the attack on Earth. Lena made a decision. They needed to talk to her, not as a prisoner, but as a possible ally. The plan was bold. A full human fleet would jump into Virex space and strike at the enemy's heart, their capital world. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about showing the galaxy that humans could fight, win, and change the future. Commander Ethan Blake stood on the bridge of the USS Freedom, watching as ships lined up behind him. Fighters, carriers, and warships from Earth and its colonies formed a powerful force. "This is it," he said into the comms. "We don't stop until we hit the surface." Beyond the fleet, the stars were dark and cold. Ahead, the Virex homeworld waited, a massive planet covered in cities, factories, and defense stations. Lena Carter led the ground assault team. She wore the latest fusion-powered armor, built by Kyle Morgan and his team. It made her faster, stronger, and ready for anything. "We go in hard," she told her soldiers. "No hesitation, no fear." The fleet jumped. In seconds, they arrived in orbit. The Virex had expected a small attack. Not this. Alarms screamed across the planet. Ships launched to meet the invaders. Energy beams shot into space. But the human fleet was ready. Railgun rounds tore through enemy shields. Fighter jets dove through the sky. Orbital strikes lit up the land below. As the battle raged above, Lena's dropship broke through the clouds. They landed near the capital city, where High Commander Zorak Tharn still gave orders from a massive fortress. The fighting on the ground was brutal. Virex soldiers used bioweapons, psychic drones, and heavy fire, but the humans pushed forward with everything they had. Kyle coordinated from orbit, sending real-time updates and targeting data. New exosuits gave soldiers an edge, letting them carry more gear, move faster, and survive longer. Ethan led from the front. He fought through enemy lines, clearing buildings, taking out gun nests, and holding positions when others fell back. Finally, after days of battle, the capital fell. Zorak Tharn was captured alive inside his command center. He looked at Ethan with disbelief. "You should not be here," he said. Ethan stared back. "You attacked our world. Now you get to see what happens when we come to yours." The battle was over. And for the first time in history, the Virex had lost their home. But the war wasn't done yet, because humanity had more to say and more to do. Zorak Tharn sat in a plain room with cold metal walls. He was no longer on his homeworld. He was on Earth, in chains. His armor had been taken, his weapons stripped, his voice silenced for weeks. Now, at last, he would face what he had done. The trial was held in Geneva at the International Court of Justice. It was not just for humans to see. Every major species in the galaxy was invited to watch. This was more than justice. It was a message. Inside the courtroom, people filled the seats. Soldiers, survivors, leaders, and families of those who had died in the attacks watched as Zorak was brought in. He stood tall, but his eyes were tired. Lena Carter sat with the prosecution. She wore her uniform, proud and steady. Beside her was Ethan Blake, arms crossed, watching the man who had tried to destroy everything. "You ordered the attack on Earth," Lena said. "You sent ships to Luna. You killed civilians. You took prisoners and experimented on them." Zorak looked at her like she was missing the point. "We were testing your kind," he said, "to see if you were a threat. We have done this before. Most species break. You did not. That's because we're not like other species," Ethan said, his voice calm but sharp. The trial went on for days. Evidence was shown, reports played, survivors spoke. Some cried, others stared without blinking. In the end, there was no doubt. Zorak was guilty, not just of war crimes, but of underestimating humanity. The sentence was read aloud. Life imprisonment, no chance of release. As guards led him away, Zorak turned one last time. "You think this ends here?" he said. "You've only made enemies beyond counting." Ethan and Lena exchanged a look. Then Ethan stepped forward. "Maybe," he said, "but we'll be ready." Outside, the sun was setting over the city. People gathered in the streets, watching the news. Justice had been served. And across the stars, other species were watching too, some with fear, some with respect, and some with curiosity. Because one thing was now clear to the entire galaxy: humans were not to be messed with, and they weren't going anywhere. After the trial, the galaxy watched Earth closely. Some species had never heard of humans before the war. Now they studied them like legends. Messages came from faraway systems. Some were warnings. Others were offers, for trade, for peace, for alliance. Not all aliens were enemies. Some had seen what happened to the Virex and wanted no part in fighting Earth. Others were curious. A few even admired what humanity had done. On Earth, life changed. Cities built new spaceports. Schools taught lessons on alien languages and tech. Soldiers became diplomats. Engineers built ships that could travel farther than ever before. Humanity was not just surviving anymore. They were growing. Ethan Blake stayed with the military, now leading the Human Space Command. He made sure every colony, every ship, and every station was protected. Lena Carter took a new role, as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Coalition. She traveled to alien worlds, met with leaders, and made deals that kept the peace. Kyle Morgan led research teams that improved human tech every day. Thanks to him, fusion armor, plasma weapons, and faster-than-light travel became common. Space stations were built along Earth's borders. Each one had powerful weapons and deep space sensors. Above every station floated a message: "Welcome to human space. Don't fuck with us." In Washington, President Harlan gave a speech that was broadcast across the stars. "We did not start this war," he said, "but we finished it. We are not conquerors. We are protectors. If you come in peace, we will welcome you. If you come in force, we will end you." The message was clear. Humans were not just part of the galaxy now, they were shaping it. And they were not afraid. In Montana, Ethan's old garage still stood. People came from all over to see where it all began. Kids played near the trees where the first alien fell. Back then, only a few had fought back. Now the whole world stood ready, because the truth was known by all. Attack Earth once, and mankind comes for you. Attack them twice, and there won't be a next time. Years passed. The stars changed. Humanity did not stop growing. They built new colonies on faraway worlds. They made peace with some alien species and kept a close watch on others. Trade routes opened. Knowledge was shared. But one thing never changed. Humans were ready for war. If it ever came again, Ethan Blake stood on the bridge of the USS Independence V, looking out at a sky full of stars. Beside him, Lena Carter watched the same view. She had been an ambassador, A soldier. A leader. Now she was both again. Sometimes I wonder, she said, if they'll come back. Ethan shook his head. Not them, he said. Someone else. Someone always thinks they can take what's not theirs. Kyle Morgan's voice came over. The comms were getting reports from the outer edge unknown ships. I'm scanning now. Everyone on the bridge tensed, but no one ran. No one hid. They just waited. Send the message, Ethan said. On every human ship, station, and colony, a signal played. This is human space. Identify yourself, or be treated as hostile. In the deep dark of space, something answered. Not Virex. Not anyone they knew. Something new. And that meant something else. Another test. Another chance for someone to learn what happens when you mess with humans. Lena looked at Ethan. They thought we were weak, she said. Easy prey. They were wrong. Ethan nodded. Now they know. And now, we're coming. The Independence turned toward the unknown. Behind it followed dozens of ships, fast, strong, ready. Across the galaxy, old enemies remembered what happened to the Virex. New ones were about to find out. Because one truth echoed across the stars. Humans don't run. Humans don't beg. When you attack Earth, mankind comes for you, and they never come alone.